Welcome back to Ideas Spotlight here on Beyond the Brick. I'm Joshua Hanlon, and today I'm happy to have Jeff joining me to talk about the fantastic Thundercats project done by Fabio. So let's jump on into it. So before Jeff and I jump in with Fabio on his project here, I do want to give a big shout out to LME Toys for sponsoring this episode of Ideas Spotlight. They have a fantastic eBay store where you can find all sorts of wonderful Lego products, sets, pieces, anything you could want, 100% feedback. They have a special deal going on right now where if you buy 3 or more products, then you get free shipping in the United States. So check out their store. There's a link in the description for all of your Lego buying needs. Now, as I mentioned, we do have a Thundercats project for you today, and I've brought my friend Jeff in because he knows much more about Thundercats than I do, and he can give kind of the more informed opinion about Fabio's project. But Fabio, why don't you start off with just introducing yourself real quick, and then we'll jump into the project.
Okay, thank you so much for this time. I'm Fabio Diaz. I'm from Bolivia. And yes, on April, I submit this project related to Thundercats, one of my favorite cartoons.
And so for people, for instance, myself, and I'm sure other people out there, maybe not real, I've heard of this show, but not real familiar with kind of the overall theme of the show or the plot, what it's about. Why don't you tell people a little bit about kind of what the show is about?
Well, the show is about characters that comes from a planet that called Thundera. They are related to, similar to cat felines, tigers, lions, all that kind of animals. And it's about the adventures of these Thundercats, that they call them, themselves, against the evil counterpart of these characters that are mainly led by Munra.
And Jeff, as
the main villain.
As a big fan of the show, Jeff, what is it about the show that you've enjoyed so much over the years and kind of has drawn you to it?
So it's not Lino that drew me to the show initially, which is kind of weird because that's like Thundercat Batman for the most part. Like he's the big leader there. He's the one with the big hand on right now. Panthro, guy with the nunchuck things that not really nunchucks. He was my favorite character because he was a mechanic and he could always like fix stuff that was going on. Like the fact that the ship crash landed and like the guy was like, oh, I guess I'll just make a giant castle and vehicle for us out of the remains of the ship. This will be fine. And it was. But just the adventure of it, heck, even the theme song. Like you hear the theme song once and you're like, all right, I'm down. Let's do this. And, sword and sorcery and stuff like that mixing has always been a big thing for me. And then they added in sci-fi elements. And I was like 7. I was hooked for life.
So was this show mostly aimed at kids then, or is there still, I'm sure there's a lot of adults that watch it because they watched it when they were growing up, or, was it the type of show that adults can enjoy as well?
All right. So back in the 80s, it was for kids. Fabio, are you ready to feel old? Do you remember the reboot that happened in the 2000s?
I don't want to talk about that reboot.
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of updated for like dad and son or dad and daughter or mom and daughter or whatever combination you want to think of to sit and watch the show and get into it. It just fell flat. Like Thundercats was back in the 80s was kind of dark and kind of like, ooh, Mumra, watch out, he's scary. But in the rebooted version, it was like everything has to be dark and we all talk like this. So, and it added some, I don't want to say anything bad, but like stupid elements to it. Like in the original Thundercats cartoon, they're on a spaceship, they're going to crash. So, or they're escaping Thundera after it was attacked. So they, get into cryopods, they all freeze up, everything is cool. And then Lion-O's cryopod malfunctions because when he went in, he was like 11. And when he came out, he's like 22 and stacked and is like, but with the mind of an 11-year-old. And the show was one of the first shows to show character growth. So it showed Lionel going from like 11-year-old not sure of himself to, I think by like season 3, he was like leading Earth 3, which is the planet they decided to call it, and just ushering in new people all the time, and beating the crap out of Mumra every episode. And there you go.
That's good. So we've established a little bit of the plot lines then there. So Fabio, I'm assuming then, based on your reaction to the remake, that this is not based on the newer show and is based on the original.
Yeah, nothing. It's like the original from the 80s. Actually, I'm also working with my partner to add a Snarf. Actually, I'm pretty sure you missed Snarf. And it's a pretty good story about it, because the first submission in April was including Snarf, and actually also Pantro's head with the ears. But then Lego mailed me and told me that I have to remove all the new pieces, and I have just submit a project with real Lego pieces, not new ones. So I have to remove Snarf because it was the character with the most new pieces that was added by us. But now we are trying to do an update with Snarf.
Cool. Yeah. So try to get some more characters involved then. But before we go any further, let's talk about this vehicle that we have on the screen here, because this is one of the things in the few things that I've seen from Thundercats. This vehicle has always kind of intrigued me. Explain kind of what we have going on here and how this works.
The Thundercat, the Thunder Tank. Well, it's the main vehicle. It's also driven and designed by Pantro, as my partner said, and actually is the main vehicle of the Thundercats. And also it has another kind of story related to the submission, because all the paws and the jaws opens and there is weapons inside, but Lego asked me to remove all the weapons from the Thunder Tank. So I have to remove all the weapons, but the paws on the jaw is still moving up. And also, if you see another picture where the Thundercats go inside it, also it has a main canyon that I have to remove it.
Jeff, you're muted.
So, Fabio, that's one of the things that I like about this, is that back in the 80s, when LGN owned the toy product line, we got the Thunder Tank, but it was like, it holds 2 Thundercats. But with this, your project is like, we're going to cram everybody in there. There's going to be room for a pool table, maybe a hot tub, who knows what. But the Thundercats are all set there, and that's one of the coolest things about this. And I know that I'm going to mention another toy company here, Joshua. Don't fire me, please. Super 7 released the Thundercats, and it was a whole mess, unfortunately. Right? And then they revealed the Thunder Tank, which is going to be $450. With Fabio's project here, I would go for this if I were a Thundercats fan. Well, I am one, but I mean, you know what I mean. Like, if I were a diehard, this would be the thing that I would get, rather than spend the almost $500 on a piece of plastic that's not that great. So that's my take on it. I hope this thing succeeds, because it'll go on a shelf, and then I'll eventually have to build the Thundercats base, and that's a thing. So there you go.
So Fabio, then, if you can't talk about the kind of the design of the tank vehicle there, any particular pieces you used that were interesting, or kind of what was the design challenges for that part of the build?
Well, the design challenges was related actually that I'm not fan of Technic. I'm also a collector, but from Lego bricks. But for this construction and design, I had to combine bricks and Technic parts, especially for the paws that you see that. And also another kind of difficulty that I reached was with the inside, the commands, and the size of it, in order to put all the minifigures and make it more playable.
So yeah, you
Yeah, you definitely did that. Sorry, Joshua, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that's what Jeff was alluding to, is how important that is, basically, to get that playability in there and make sure that people can actually put all the characters inside the vehicle, as I'm assuming it is in the show.
Yeah. I like what you did with the Wileys, by the way. I like the use of the recolored cherries for Wily Cat, and I like the recolored lasso used for Willy Kit. Wily Kit, sorry. My words are hard. And I like the fact that all of these aren't new pieces. And you were saying that they had to be removed due to yada yada. But seriously, just some different colorings and some, not even modification to molds. You've got all the old molds on there for the figures, which is great. You know, we all like minifigures. We all like minifigures and sets. And that's part of the draw too. So like the fact that you nailed that and the design and the fact that this brings back memories of just hanging out and watching this on Saturday mornings is top notch, Fabio. Like anybody that's a fan of Thundercats, you need to go support this right now.
Yeah, that was my thought also. As a Thundercat fan, I really, really need this Thunder Tank in my collection with all the minifigures, and especially before or after looking that there is the Flintstone set, the Sesame Street set. I don't know. I think that Thundercats deserve more.
Now let's dive into the minifigures here a little bit more. I know you mentioned earlier you had to get rid of some because of the new pieces in them. So there's some obviously like very unique character designs here that you've had to achieve. How difficult was that with Lego? Was there a lot of experimentation for kind of hair pieces and what types of prints would look good on each character?
Well, actually, most of the minifigures were designed by my partner, that is Israel. We both submit this kind of project. I was with all the Thunder Tank design and kind of the ideas for the minifigures, but he's graphic designer that also has to draw before designing it, all the imprints of the minifigures, all the characterization. And I think the most difficult minifigure that we had to design was Snarf. Snarf was the most difficult because it's the only minifigure that really needs new parts in every part of the minifigure.
Yeah, the rest of these you're able to use. Let's talk about some of the pieces you used. It looks like, is that a Wolverine hairpiece on the one character or a couple of the characters there?
No, I think that both hairs are actually from Ninjago.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because I used a studio and there is no Wolverine actually hair in there, but it looks like it. I guess that actually the Wolverine hair also used the Ninjago. Actually, also the Willy Kit and Willy Cat are that kind of hair too.
Yeah, it was also used on Ra's al Ghul in a Batman set way back when Ra's al Ghul and Talia came. Anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, those. So the Mumra. So I've got two critiques, Fabio, and I don't mean to be rude, and I'm not trying to be rude. So the Mumra needs some like blaster element pieces to go around him when he's changing, because you know how it was. There's the big dramatic thing of Mumra. Yeah. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Maybe a spinner, you know, turn around.
Actually, also the Mumbra's design before changing it to actual parts, it was pretty much better. Unfortunately, I had to use this samurai kind of helmet, but I will take your advice and I promise that I will make an update just for Munra, adding it at least those accessories like Palpatine, those rays, something like that.
Yeah, like these all around and stuff, and the multicolors. Yeah. The other small critique I have is, let's talk about the Sword of Thundera with the Eye of Thundera. So you get the little short sword there, and you and I both know that when Lion-O is in trouble, or he gets excited, or adventure happens, that sword grows, becomes a long sword. Will you be including a long sword with Lion-O too to represent that, or just?
Yeah, we actually wanted to add two kind of swords, the shorter one and the long one, but there is no a long one that it's pretty similar to what we want, and we can't use new pieces. That's the main limitation. And actually, Joshua, if you see also all these Lego ideas, I guess that for the designers, the toughest decision to make is trying to make some minifigures, but with real parts, not with new parts.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's a bummer because you've got to do the best with what you got, and you still nailed it, man. Like, it's still there. And I'm looking at my army of minifigures that I have in front of me because I've been sorting, and I'm trying to find a solution right now for the sword, and I'm like, I got nothing. Okay, but I feel you on it though. Like, the sword is the most important part when it comes to Lino and everything else. Like, the Thunder Tank is like a close second, then all the characters, and of course Snarf. I mean, you gotta have Snarf. But have you thought about building a brick-built Snarf? Like the way that they did the Porgs and one of the Star Wars sets, just, you know, a little tinier, maybe make it like halfway up to like Lionel's waist, like, you know, more cartoon accurate or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we're also trying to do that. Actually, if you see the Lego ideas from Winnie the Pooh, that it was one of the latest that Lego bring it to us. If you see the main idea of the minifigures, they are kind of all made of bricks. They are not minifigures. And we are also conscious that Lego will build this Lego set from zero. So we hope that from the final set that Lego, if hopefully release of Thundercats, it will have new kind of parts for representing these kind of characters. But we are going to add a Snarf, even if it's brick parts or if it's minifigures. Snarf must be there.
Yeah, you gotta have Snarf. He's the best sidekick nobody asked for. The other thing that I wanted to ask about that I can't remember right now because my brain just went blank. So that's cool.
While Jeff is thinking about that, Fabio, what has the reaction been to this project online? Have you had a lot of people who maybe grew up watching the show that have seen this project and responded well to it? What has that reaction been like?
Actually, I was expecting a better reaction, especially because I know that Thundercats has a lot of fans around the world. I'm part of some of the groups in Facebook that has at least 150,000 likes or something like that. But I have 1 month and a half with this idea with 2,000 votes. I was expecting more reactions about it, especially because also in April they released the rumor about the new movie coming on. Also, Puma released new shoes related to Thundercats. So I was hoping a better reaction, especially from my side at Latin America, that is not so common to see Lego ideas from Latin America that has really kind of a little chance to win, because I think that if Thundercats reach 10K votes, it could win.
Yeah, I think it could too. So the thing about this is that, like, when you were Fabio and you and I were younger and Joshua was a glimmer in his father's eye, like, we had He-Man to contend with, and we had Cops, like a horrible futuristic cop show. It was bad. And then from Thundercats came Silverhawks. From Silverhawks came, oh God, the shark one that we don't need to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah. But that's the thing about back in the 80s and the cartoons are yada yada. And like, I think that now with all the things that are happening with a pop culture resurgence of everything, I think that Thundercats is a little overlooked due to the fact that it wasn't that popular. You know, I mean, their episodes were in syndication, so it wasn't like we're making new ones every year, boys. It's like, okay, here's 90 episodes for the year. Enjoy. Oh, don't play them in order. We don't worry about it. So, you know, and then they introduced Robot Bears, and that's where I lost interest. And it was just went downhill from there. It was their answer to Ewoks was like robotic teddy bears, and I was like, pass, hard pass. And the great thing about this is that, so say this hits 10K, and you're the dude that created the Thundercats Lego set. From that point on, it's maybe meet with other designers, other fans, and get out that second set where it's full of the mutants, and they got their sky sled that they have, maybe a different modded up Lion-O and stuff. So I could see this going really far if and when it hits 10K, which I think it will. There's enough Thundercats fans that are literally looking up from under a rock right now and going, "Oh!" So I think it'll hit, man. I really do. So good luck.
No, thank you.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show and chatting with us about the project and sharing your passion with Jeff, especially. I'm glad we could get this out for everyone to enjoy. And for anyone watching, we'll have a link to the project in the description of this video. Make sure you go over and hit that support button. Help this project reach 10,000 votes as soon as possible. Thank you, Fabio.
No, thanks to you. You both give me a little of time to show this project. And actually, this project, more than it's made for me, it's for the fans, and especially also for my father, that he introduced me to this excellent cartoon. So thank you so much for this, and let me show this project that is related to my biggest hobby, that is Lego.
Happy to do it. And thank you, Jeff, for coming on and helping lend your expertise as well. Always appreciate that. And thank you, everyone, for watching. We will see you